So if Basel III goes into effect July 1st, don't you think banks are going to want to hold more gold on their balance sheets, physical gold?
Good question.
Won't banks have a much harder time manipulating gold?
You lay a whole lot of regulations on a banking system that is crumbling, you might just cause a serious crisis.
Buy your precious metals online from SD Bullion. New customers get gold and silver at spot by visiting sdbullion.com/new. Somebody just sold these gold coins to you, Tim.
Yeah, not an easy sell.
A world famous dog. And this one too.
Yeah, that's a little less, because it's a high relief, they're a little less easy to sell.
Ultra Cameo PF68. Australia. Year of the Snake. Wow. What?
This is actually from years ago. The people were these were very collectible. This is Happy New Year. This one is Thanksgiving. Yeah, they're all art bars. There is a number that the wholesaler provides for art bars. They don't like to buy them. They would much rather sell them, but they even sell them for less than melt. This is something that I would have to take a few pictures of and see if my customers. I have 2 customers for art bars, but I'll take that one.
They're picky.
That one.
Yeah, right.
We found these in my parents' house while we were cleaning it out. These were just in a box in a cabinet that neither my sister or I ever had known about.
What a find.
Yeah, I guess so.
Let's see. It's missing the inside. It looks like a 2-coin set. Yeah.
Would you keep any of it if it was of value?
Probably not.
You just want to cash it in?
I think so, yeah.
This looks interesting to me, Tim, other than the air bars.
All right, what is that? They sterling? They look like sterling. Let me take a look.
Oh my word, 3.4 kilograms.
500.
Even minus the box and paper in there, we're talking about 100 ounces of silver. That's over $3,000.
That stuff, you see how many are of this type, because the weight's going to be the same.
Right.
And from experience what we have to do with sterling.
Oh, yes, unfortunately.
You got 4 or 5 buckets of it now, and they love this stuff. This is a refinery I'm talking about. They love this stuff because they can trust that it's the other 7.5% is copper and not dog do.
Oh,
okay. Because sterling is 92.5% silver, but the other 7.5% is for a company like these, they can trust that it's something like copper, which stiffens the silver. Canadian silver is 80%, and the U.S. being 90%. Yeah, it's pretty easy. Yeah, I can come up with a number for any of this stuff, including the mint sets.
A number for the whole thing, because I'm not going to need them again. We're not into this stuff.
You're done with this stuff.
Well, it's just clutter, so we'll go with that.
And to be honest, I have a lot of this clutter.
Better you than me. Let's put it that way.
No, please no.
So we're all set?
You're all set.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a boring gold question, Tim?
Oh, sure.
It's not as fun as the Porsche discussion you were just having. Starting in July 1st, 2025, U.S. banks are going to start treating gold, I think, like real money. It comes from the committee at the Bank of International Settlements. I think it's in Basel, Switzerland.
Yep.
But it's the third accord, Basel III,
Yep.
that really has me interested. That regulation forces banks to hold stronger balance sheets with higher quality assets. Like, I'm going to see if I can say this with a straight face, cash and treasuries. That's what they consider stronger quality assets, right?
The dollar is king.
Right, exactly. Those are tier 1 assets.
Yeah.
But gold, as of the recording of this video, is a tier 3 asset, what they consider a more risky asset. But as a tier 1 asset, they can now treat the value of the gold at 100% on their balance sheets. And here's the big one. The gold that they can now put on their balance sheets as a tier 1 asset has to be real allocated physical gold, not ETFs, not futures contracts, real gold.
Yep.
That's significant, isn't it?
It is, because right now the prices are set by activity in the futures markets.
Exactly.
Okay. And it's, for businesses like ours, that's kind of disruptive, because we're at the mercy of the people who are buying those contracts. It's kind of like fixing the markets, because there's a lot of money involved. If you take a look at BlackRock and Vanguard and JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, et cetera, they have probably more money under management than our country's debt. And so we're going to require the banks to have a certain amount of assets to prevent the collapse that we had in 2008.
All right, well, Tim takes that call. Let's talk a little bit more about gold. Even with the recent pullback last week, we are still very much in a gold bull market. Check this out. The gold bull market in the 70s, when Yankee was a kid, had 200 all-time highs. The gold bull market in the decade of the 2000s had just over 100 all-time highs. But in this decade's bull run, we have only seen gold hit 74 new all-time record highs so far. And in my opinion, we got a lot more coming. Gold's still headed higher. We are still not reducing our national debt in any significant way. Congress is not being fiscally responsible. We are certainly not returning to sound money anytime soon. And because of all of this, I am still buying physical gold. I'm also still holding on to and even adding to my positions in gold mining stocks. Physical gold has appreciated by 75% since 2011, but the GDXJ index of junior mining companies has depreciated by 63%. That is absolutely unsustainable in my opinion. And being a contrarian investor, what you're seeing here tells me it's a super good time to get into some great mining companies. Great mining companies that own large known deposits of gold in prime jurisdictions. And one of them is today's sponsor, AxCap Ventures. Their ticker symbol is GARLF. AxCap was incorporated to make investments to rapidly capitalize on the distressed conditions in the gold industry. Their assets are comprised of approximately 5.57 million ounces of gold equivalent resources in the measured and indicated category, and approximately an additional 500,000 ounces inferred. Yet, with all that, they're valued at around $5 an ounce, while their peers are trading for 8 times as much, like 700% more. Now, their management assumes all of their resources could be re-rated, and that's based on the case studies of previous instances in which similar situations have led to meaningful appreciation. AxCap Ventures' flagship Converse project is in Nevada's Black Mountain Trend, a premier gold jurisdiction, producing 75% of America's gold. 75%. And the company's insider purchases total 1.2 million in Q1 2025. Guys, that is a key factor in my decision-making process because that signals strong management confidence. Let me just give you a few examples here. On May 1st, 2025, Mario Vetro, co-founder and director, purchased 20,000 shares. On top of that, Tyrone Breitenbach, the second co-founder and director, purchased 50,000 shares. The day before that, on April 30th, Mario purchased 10,000 shares. The day before that, 15,000. On April 28th, 25,000. There's more purchases here, but collectively, a total of 240,000 shares just in the last week of April. And their business model is super simple. Drill the properties, and create the conditions for an exit at comparable valuations. So research AxCap Ventures. Again, their ticker symbol is GARLF on the U.S. over-the-counter markets. All right, it looks like Tim is off the phone now. So let me get back to this real quick before the phone goes off again. All right, so won't banks have a much harder time manipulating gold with this Basel III requirement?
I think they'll have, it'll be very difficult to do day-to-day business.
This was supposed to go into effect in 2022 for the U.S.
Yep.
And they've delayed it. They may delay it again, Tim.
Why would they delay it?
Oh, I wonder. Why would they delay it?
Okay, well,
And the UK, by the way, the UK has delayed it to 2026. Go on.
well, we still have stress tests every now and again. And a stress test is to test the ability of a bank to survive a run on the bank. This is like a big international stress test. I suspect there are a lot of people who are rethinking this at this point because you lay a whole lot of regulations on a banking system that is crumbling day by day. You might just cause a serious crisis. And you take the little countries that used to be part of the Soviet Union, they believe in central control. And this may look like central control that nobody wants at some point. And where gold is concerned, okay, how much gold does the Congo have on its balance sheet? Well, they probably don't want anybody to know. I don't think they're even going to be affected.
But you do agree that it should be treated like a tier 1 asset, a non-risky asset. Gold should be treated like real money.
I don't think there's any problem with calling gold, real money and raising the value to something that equals the COMEX.
Right. So if Basel III goes into effect July 1st, which I wouldn't be surprised if they delay it again, but if it does, don't you think banks are going to want to hold more gold on their balance sheets, physical gold?
Good question. How liquid is it? You've got a lot of gold. You're a big New York bank and you got a lot of gold. How does that help you operate from day to day? That's where the banks are having trouble. That's why we have these phony stress tests where we print a lot of money, give it to certain banks, and then they pass away flying colors. They pass the stress test. So that's good, but it's a phony test. I don't think adding a new set of regulations is going to help. I think it may also be put off or modified, substantially modified.
Because this is earth-shattering. I mean, if they actually go through with this,
I think there are going to be more restrictions on the purchase of futures contracts. I think
that's
they're
a good
going
thing.
to have to do that.
If we can get rid of the hypothecation and the spoofing and all the derivative crap that goes on with the futures contracts?
Yes, that'd be terrific.
It might happen.
It might happen. You can find out how much is being shorted.
Yeah.
That number is out there.
Right.
I don't think there's more than, for these futures contracts, I don't think there's more than 25 to 30 million ounces that are available to put in these contracts. But that may become a thing of the past. I think that would be terrific. The central authority, whatever they're going to be, would like to know how much gold there is in each country. And this would be kind of a weak attempt to find that out. But China has no reason to play by these rules. They have no reason to let anybody in the world know how much gold they have.
But what if the banksters on Wall Street have to play by these rules?
Yes, then they're going to scream bloody murder. Let's say this is a thing that is locked in. Wouldn't it make sense so that your banks don't fall apart or fall out of line with what they're supposed to have in a reserve? What's to stop the government from bailing out of these banks with gold? We know there's in the vaults of the New York Fed, there's gold. You know that the U.S. Mint has a depository. There's a depository in Denver. Well, let's say we have all these regulations where All your assets have to be reach a certain point. And the banks are all going to go see the president and say, "Hey, this is killing us. We can't meet these standards." And so they're saying, "Okay, we'll ship some bars of gold to you, and to you, and to you. Hey, what about me? And you too." There's a way around it, and since it only involves certain countries and certain banks, it's not going to be successful.
You don't think it will have an impact on the price of gold if this goes through?
Right now, what has an impact on the price of gold? A handful of
Hedge funds.
hedge funds.
If they're encouraged to get the gold, the physical gold, and have it on their books, couldn't that drive the price up? Some?
Yeah, but it sounds to me like this is going to be open to the public, or at least to whatever the regulatory authority is. And
Transparency?
yeah, transparency is
Yeah.
something they don't really want. So I wonder how successful it's going to be. And my answer to, okay, how are we going to stop the COMEX from keeping silver back? Well, change the regulations. They're supposed to have, a silver in reserve. Well, why don't we just change the amount they have to have in reserve? Because it's how much silver?
games.
How much silver is in these contracts? Basically none. But they're supposed to have physical silver to back up the contracts.
Right.
Doesn't make any sense. There's no silver in the contracts.
Well, thanks, Tim. I love your input, and we'll check on you again soon. Take care, bud.
Yeah. Are they going to check on how much gold I have?
We're doing a Basel III audit on
I have
Tim.
a few of these tubes, so that's about it.